networking and job hunting and, that kind of stuff. So when the announcement came, I knew that I had kind of learned some tips and some tricks along the way, but I really wanted to jump in because so many of my coworkers were also going to be losing their positions, and they had not, they had been with the company for 10, 15, 20 years. So, no resumes, no real LinkedIn presence. Some of them might have had something. And I wanted to share, I wanted to just try to help them be successful on their job hunt, because part of our severance package was in August. That's when we were going to get the third party, outplacement company. So we were going to have 2 full months that, of real no resources available to the team until we were fully let go. So not only being a job hunter myself, but also because I did have, quite a bit of knowledge about LinkedIn in particular, I put together this what I call the LinkedIn tips and tricks, and I shared it with, my team. And as I've picked up new tips and new tricks and taken additional LinkedIn courses and part of the L&D Cares event that we did, again, learning everything I can, I keep tweaking my presentation to add new things into, how to make somebody more successful, in finding a job. Originally, my tips and tricks were just about, here's how you make a profile. But then once I became a job hunter myself, I had to switch that, that mindset up and, okay, well, how to use this as an actual job hunting tool, and how, and how do you network? So that's really like kind of the crash course on how I got so good at it. Was I literally took every single LinkedIn tips and tricks class. I took them from T-Mobile, from the recruiter side of things. I took them from, LHH, the company that our outplacement company. And I've just combined all that knowledge into, kind of one package, so that you don't have to sit through 8+ hours of this stuff. And hopefully, I'm really going to give you all the kind of the meat and potatoes behind all the stuff that I've been able to find, and then, and share that with you. And again, I'm definitely open to, future conversations as well. If anybody needs any help, after they put some of this stuff into practice, again, please feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to help going forward as well.
So you told me you've got 2 paths to find your next job. So do you want to talk a little more about that?
Yeah. So when it comes to actual job searching on LinkedIn, there are 2 paths that you can take. Path number 1 is the traditional recruiter path, which is you build a profile and hope that a recruiter finds you based on all the information that you're presenting, right? But as many of you are aware, and the people that are on this call right now or may watch this in the future, as you have been searching for jobs, you're probably realizing that, there are, upwards of 100, 200, 500 applicants per one position. So the recruiters don't necessarily have to comb through LinkedIn day in and day out to find people. So realistically, you have to take a different approach, in terms of a much more proactive approach, in terms of trying to find find your next role. So I want to start with kind of, so this way, just in case you have to jump off, whatever the case is, I just want to kind of start with, this is what I did to find the job. So here, this is, if you don't take anything else away from this event, or, this session for today, at least I'm going to walk you through what I did to use LinkedIn to find the job. And then the rest of the tips are all going to really jump into how to provide all the polish that your profile needs. So here's how it works. So this is the second path, and this is the proactive approach. So the first thing you want to start with is job boards, which, again, it's very common. If you're searching for a job, you're going to go to like LinkedIn, you'll go to Indeed or Monster or Career Builder, and you want to start with looking for roles that you think are going to be a good fit. Okay, and this is probably very common for everybody. And let's say you do find that role. So in my case, it was a corporate trainer. So I find a job at a company, and I did a search. I searched for this remote. So I was looking to be a virtual facilitator, any place in the nation, again, but I wanted to focus on being remote. So I find this job, and I go to the website, and I see the job. So the company's called OnTrack, and they have this corporate trainer position open. So I then apply for the job through the job board. And then the very next thing you do is you go to LinkedIn, and at the top, there's a search bar, and you want to search for the person that you think, the job title of the person that you think would be hiring you for your role. So again, if you're in manufacturing and, it's operations or whatever the case is, right? Operations manager or training manager, right? So that's what I did. I just searched for training manager at OnTrack. And I found this lady, her name was Marie, and I sent a LinkedIn connection. I just said, hey, I would like to connect with you. And this is what I call a cold connection. I didn't put anything I didn't add anything extra into the box or anything. It was just, hey, I'd like to connect with you. Then what you do, so she's the hiring manager. And then, for the position I'm applying for. And then what you do is you do another LinkedIn search for trainers at OnTrack. So again, same company, you look for people that have the same title as you are applying for. And then you try to connect with those people as well. And then typically once you've reached out to all these people, most people are probably gonna be okay with connecting with you, right? It's no big deal. They'll just, they're gonna accept your connection request. Once they accept the request, then what you do is you follow up with a say thank you for connecting, and so thank you for connecting. To the hiring manager, the reply is, I just applied for this job, and I'm really looking forward to connecting. I'm really looking forward to finding out more about it, right? And that's it. That's how you leave that one. Then for the people that have your same job title, what you're looking to do with those people is you'd say, hey, thank you for connecting. If and only if I get an interview, is it okay if I reach out to you maybe 15, 20 minutes to find out more about the job? And I would say this has about 100% success rate, right? Most people are like, oh yeah, totally. If you get an interview, definitely, give me a shout and we'll connect and I'll tell you all about the job. And so then again, so once you do get that interview, then you follow up with those people you connected with, the people that have the same, your peers or future peers. And then you find out more about the job. And then when you go to the interview, you now are showing up being way more prepared. You have much better insight. And to the hiring manager, you now already have a face, because again, they've already accepted your connection request. So you have a face to the name. You're not just black text on a white resume background. And you are standing out, right? So the key to this thing is, out of that 100 applicants or 500 applicants, how do you stand out amongst everyone else? Those were the steps that I took. And then when I did the interview, or after the interview, I did ask. I said, hey, I was like, Marie, why did you choose me? And she said specifically that after I reached out to her through LinkedIn, she then looked through my profile, which was, that was cool, right? So she's looking through my profile, and she noticed that when it came to me in particular, that I was all about trying to help other people out, right? I was trying to, use my LinkedIn tips and tricks to help other people, and that I was giving my content away for free. It was just, hey, I did this stuff. I want to help you be successful, in this job search, right? And she said that, anybody that was willing to add, value people and trying to help build people like that. She's like, when it comes to what we're looking for in particular, she's like, that trait about you is really what was one of the reasons why we wanted to at least interview you. And then after the interview, I possessed the skills that were necessary, obviously, to do the job. It wasn't just like, hey, you seem like a good guy, let's give him a shot, kind of thing. So, yeah. And then that's going to kind of roll us into brand here in a second. So looks like we
Oh,
have a couple
well,
questions.
hang on that because
Yep.
Carla has a question. So she's
Yeah.
curious, how do you find the right person if it's a large company? Like I work at UPS, that's a huge company. There's a lot of
Yeah.
different training managers.
So Carl, so great question. So two things. The first one is I would say to you, connect with all of them, right? Because you may reach out to 10 hiring managers and 6 of them accept the request. And one of them may not even be your actual manager. But again, it's all about standing out and it's about creating conversations. So the cool part is even if that one of those training managers is not your direct boss, then that's a perfect person to say, hey, like, could I also pick your brain? I mean, if you're the hiring manager, this gives you the ability to then actually talk to a hiring manager and get that insight. Like, hey, what are you guys looking for? Company culture. And then when you go to the actual interview, the biggest benefit is you're going to have a ton more insight. And this is a numbers game, right? So I come from a sales background. So, if you reach out to 20 people and 5 of them connect, okay, cool. Well, you have at least 5 strong connections. And again, they're generally willing to share and engage with you.
So in our L&D Cares Summit 2 weeks ago now, Mike Cohen, who is a recruiter, actually suggested that because, and Liz just mentioned this in the chat, a lot of people aren't checking their LinkedIn a lot as well. There are some people who are always there and some people who aren't. That you also maybe try and figure out the email nomenclature or the email pattern of their company, and you can just reach out to them directly via email as well. So just another trick from the other day.
Yeah, that's a great trick, especially for LinkedIn too. One of the things is what is cool is that a lot of people who are especially if you're looking for some of these higher level roles, right? Like say directors or executive roles, you may find that their LinkedIn profile is they have 20 connections and they do not engage on it at all, right? Like they literally like their boss was like, hey, go make a profile, right? So those kind of people, yeah, if you try to reach out to them to connect, you're probably not going to get a connection at all. And so you're definitely wanting to look for people that are very engaged on the platform. They have a lot of connections. You see them posting and liking, and we'll get into that a little bit more. So yes, so if there's somebody who you really want to connect with, Michelle's that extra tip is perfect, right? If you understand the email system, I forgot the term that you use, the system that they have for the company, sjohnson@ontrack.com or whatever, right? So then that, yeah, you can definitely use that to kind of as like a workaround as well.
Okay, you mentioned building your brand, and that was also brought up in our summit. Vanessa Rath, I believe, on day 1 talked about building your brand. So I'd love to hear you talk more about it because you have an actually very interesting spin on it. So I'd like to hear more about that. Actually, I'm sure we all would like to hear more about that.
So I saw this quote from when I was first starting to put together the concept of start with your brand. I stumbled across this quote from Jeff Bezos, which was, your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. And like, boom, it just hit me. And I was like, wow, like, and hopefully people are saying good things, right? Like, I mean, that's kind of what you're hoping that they're saying. But I use that as my North Star when it comes to any and all decisions that I'm making when it comes to my brand on LinkedIn. And the part of the reason behind this is, how do you want to present yourself to potential recruiters or potential hiring managers, right? So everything that you're posting, and if you're not aware, most people do not post a bunch of politics stuff on there, right? I mean, that's one thing that is nice about LinkedIn for the most part is that it's not, it tends to be much more just work neutral. So that would definitely be an area that I would just make sure that you're very cautious of. If there's an emotional response that, left or right kind of thing or whatever, maybe save that for Facebook. But definitely keep that off LinkedIn. But again, everything that you do is going to either advance, is going to advance your brand either positively or negatively. So, again, start by, everything that you want to do, you want to think to yourself, how do I want to be if a recruiter stumbled onto my profile or if a hiring manager stumbles onto my profile, what is my brand? And if you really have no idea, send it to your friend and say, hey, what do you think that I do for work, as a way to kind of check that.
Now you talk a lot about, well, tell us about your profile photo and your cover photo, and because most people talk about how professional you need to be. Like I have a very professional headshot and things, but you've taken a different route. You really show your personality.
Cool. So, the goal is to get a hiring manager or a recruiter to stay and read your profile, right? And you're going to do this in a couple different ways. And everybody knows, or most people have heard the whole concept of, within the first 30 seconds, you're going to be judged, right? One way, good, better, and different, it's going to happen. And part of that is going to be, again, your initial photo, as well as the photo across the top of your profile. So with me, for example, or the first thing you need to do is, and this is a general consensus from everything I've taken, you want to have a recent color photo. Now, again, if you are super artistic and you can do black and white and it looks great, cool. But for the most part, you want to just do a color recent photo. And you want to match whatever industry that you're going to be in. So for example, if you're going to have a job that's a suit and tie job, then have a photo that's got suit and tie. But in my last company was with T-Mobile, and everybody wore magenta. So company culture was, I could have been full on magenta'd out, and that would have been totally acceptable for the job, for that company in particular. So that's for your profile photo itself. Now, as for the top banner, the beauty of the banner is you don't want to leave that stock weird lines with the balls. I don't even know what that thing is, but you don't want to use that. You want to add a photo that shows a little bit more of your personality, but not necessarily, again, too emotionally charged one way or the other, right? So for me, for example, on my profile, and I can do a quick share screen here.
Please.
So for my profile here, I have a photo of my wife and I meeting Coldplay. And so the way that I kind of looked at this was, if somebody comes on my profile and they see that, and they're a Coldplay fan, I now all of a sudden automatically have an icebreaker, potentially to start that conversation. If you don't know who Coldplay is, you're going to be like, who are these random people that Sean's standing with? And then, or you're just not going to care kind of in general, right?
I'll be honest, I thought it was just coworkers you were having a good time with, having never actually seen what Coldplay looks like. Well, but either way, it was nice and fun because
it was kind of funny is like right over the shoulder of the gentleman on the far right, it does say Coldplay. And so like, again, but most people, it's because it's kind of hard to see or whatever. So yeah. So anyway, so that was the so when it comes to the photo itself, this is where you have the ability to show a little bit of your personality. Again, maybe you're into baseball, or maybe you're into car racing, or maybe again it's you amateur photographer or whatever. And again, this is to allow the recruiter or to allow a hiring manager just a little bit more of a person to come through that black and white resume.
So this is jumping ahead a little, but can you tell us how you feel about that open to work green circle and the whole thing?
Nope. Okay. So if you look here on the page, it does say there's the box that says show recruiters that you're open to work. Can you guys see this? If you can see this, okay. So I'll just kind of scroll up here. So it says show recruiters that you're open to work. So when you click on this, one of the questions it's going to ask you is if you want to show this green ring. So it's going to say adds the open to work photo frame. All right. So there's a little bit of controversy behind this green open to work ring.
Yes.
And so if you're not aware, some recruiters, some people say you should not have the green ring on because they're from the mindset of, well, we want to try to snipe you. If you're not available, to work. We want to snipe you away. You must be such a hot commodity, and we want to take you from the competition, right? The other kind of school of thought is that the green ring is, showing people that, hey, like, you are open to the next opportunity. Just as I lost my job, or my position was eliminated, the whole green ring thing first came out. And this is my thought on it, and my kind of just general consensus and the approach that I think is the right way to go, which is, after my position was eliminated, I turned my ring on. And one of the first things you do for your LinkedIn profile in particular is you start looking through the people that you're connected with. Well, as I started looking through my own network, what I found was I started seeing, friends and colleagues and from the past that also had the ring on. And so the way that I looked at this was, that, hey, this person is in the same tough situation that I am, and that they might need support. They might have been out of work now for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months, right? And maybe just the simple act of you reaching out to say, hey, like, anything I can do or help, like, please let me know, right? The other thing that the green ring does is, if you think about hiring managers in particular, they're working. They're at their company, they're doing their job, they're working. And so, they're probably not sitting on LinkedIn for 8 hours a day like we are. And so when you, like, again, following my tips from before, when you reach out to them, they see this green ring and they're like, well, who's this guy? And they open or girl, and they open the page up, and they see that you're open to this position, and then followed by your connection request was, and then again, so they're just looking at your profile. Again, it could be just a little bit more intriguing for an actual hiring manager versus a recruiter. And so again, if they open your profile because of the ring or not, the goal is just to get them to look at you in particular.
So talk to us a little about age discrimination. I have 20 years worth of learning on my LinkedIn, which pretty much gives away my age. So while I try not to look my age, it definitely does tend to give it away if you look at my experience. I know you mentioned that's come up before when you talk to people about LinkedIn.
Yes, it actually, so every single LinkedIn session that I sat on, one of the top questions was, I'm older, and should I or should I not put a photo? So, I mean, some people don't even have any photo at all. And the way that I look at this is, I would never want to work for a company that's going to age discriminate somebody. And look, like, you look like how you look, right? So when you actually get the job, you're going to show up and you're going to look how you look. And so just embrace that, right? Like, I was talking to one guy and he was like, well, he's like, should I dye my hair? I'm like, no, like, don't dye your hair. Just, again, I mean, if you like dyeing your hair, dye your hair. But just, you're the age that you are, and you're bringing the experience that you do, and the life experiences. And so, no, and if that company wants to discriminate, then I wouldn't want to work there. And I'm probably guessing that you wouldn't either.
I have discovered the benefits of retinol since I started seeing myself on Zoom every week. Now, talk to us about the headline, because I've had to change mine, and it made a big difference.
Yeah, and that's great that you brought that up, Michelle, because so your headline is what goes right underneath your name, okay? And so when a recruiter or when that hiring manager first does a search for somebody's profile, what you're going to see is, and I can just, let me click home, for example, is that, like, if you look at my very top person here, Corrine, you can see the very first words that she has as her headline. And so the top tip for this one in particular is, you want to make sure that the number one job skill that you want to be found for, that's the one that you want in space number 1. Then you put the line, and then the pro tip for that, because I had to copy and paste it, is if you look at the enter key on your keyboard, there's a line and then a backslash. So you just do shift and then the line, that button, and then it will add a hard line in there. So that's how you get the sales trainer, hard bar, onboarding specialist. So word number one. So you want to do at least 3 to 5 words. Basically the skill or the thing you want to be found for first, hard bar. Second thing you want to be found for, hard bar. Third thing you want to be found for, and so on. Some people, for example, like the very last word, you can always do something that maybe is a little bit more intriguing. So like I used to have iOS nerd, for example, because again, I'm a huge Apple guy. Yes, I did watch the event, the whole keynote yesterday. Yep. And the one beauty of being unemployed is you do have some more free time to watch Apple events. So
I canceled my meetings to watch it.
Yes. Yeah, like when I used to work for Sprint, I'd be like, yeah, I can't take a meeting on this day. Nope, I just can't do it. So it's work related. I work for a cell phone company. I have to watch the events. So again, these are the kind of the top keywords that you want to be found for. And then again, this is from the recruiter track of things. Again, if a recruiter did a search for you, these are the kind of words that you would want to be found for.
Okay, so let's take that to the about section.
Yeah. So going down then from, let me go back to me here. So again, as somebody hits your page, they see the cool photos of you, they see those keywords kind of as a recruiter or the hiring manager scrolling down your page. Now you get to the about section. And for the about section in particular, unlike your resume, you can write this in a first person perspective, and you want to try to make the first 25 to 40 words compelling. Basically tell people why you're awesome. Why should they continue to read your profile? Because if you notice in the about section here, you have to click see more in order to expand the rest of it. So that first kind of paragraph is really how you bring them in, and then you want them to click. Now, the next cool thing, and I learned this from LHH, was the very next thing you want to do is put the words core competencies. So you make that bold, capitalize it, and then this way, it's kind of that next key set of things that you want to also, again, kind of highlight to a recruiter or hiring manager. Again, it makes it easy to as they're scanning through, similar to all the things you've heard about email, for example, right? Like email is like 1 sentence or 2, hard return, 1 sentence, hard return. So again, same kind of concept here. Keep 2-3 sentences at max, make it very easy to visually scan through. So for me, for example, again, the brand that I was trying to put out to the world is I'm really good at being a virtual trainer, right? And so I talked about in my core competencies, I talked about the things that I'm really good at training. But then below that, I talked about here are the different platforms that I've done when it comes to virtual facilitation. This is also in the about section is also you have the ability to kind of add any kind of thing kind of extra that again kind of helps round you out that maybe doesn't necessarily fit in any other spot. So for example, like I sit on a supervisory board for a local credit union here in Minnesota, because one of my previous jobs to Sprint was I worked for a credit union. I also got ProSci certified for change management. And so again, this is just another area to kind of help highlight some of that stuff. And then the way that you want to end your about section is a call to action. So I have my cell phone number, I have an email address. Again, there might be some privacy stuff that's in there. So if you don't feel comfortable putting a cell, maybe at least have an email. If somebody got this far in my profile, I just want them to not have to go any farther if they really want to get a hold of me without reading anything else.
So that brings us to previous jobs. How do we deal with those?
Cool. So as you scroll down your profile, you're going to roll to this experience section. And so first thing is similar to your headline, you actually want to put job titles for the job you want to highlight your job titles, but for the job that you want, not the job that you had. This is one of the other things. So your brand for LinkedIn is really important. But the other side of this is, let's say, for example, like I was a classroom trainer, but I want to focus on virtual facilitation. So that shift, I want to make sure that my profile reads really well for virtual facilitation and highlighting those skills about facilitating, but then also maybe about technology or about, how to engage a classroom, those kind of things. So you want to think about it from the standpoint of, in my last job, what can I highlight as my job titles that are going to advance me to with the goal of landing this new job. And especially like, again, like I came from banking. So to go from banking to cell phones to healthcare, right? Like, my profile would be basically has always read like, hey, well, he's just a sales guy. He's just a sales guy. And you have to make a very conscious effort to highlight the areas of, no, I was a trainer in all these jobs I've had. I've been a trainer. These are the things that I've done as a trainer. And then
really
when it comes
idea,
to
actually.
Oh, cool. Thank you. So then when it comes to the actual, like the listing out what you did at the job, you technically only need 3 to 5, kind of 3 to 5 kind of key things that you did. And if you can quantify it, and I got this is a pro tip from my guy, Matt, at the L&D Cares event. He was like, think about action verbs, right? So anytime that you can quantify what you did in that role, how many people, even if you're like an accountant, for example, well, how many accounts did you deal with every year, right? Or, I was, are accountable for $6 million, or, so if you can quantify it with a number, you can quantify it with the number of people that you helped, or that, that you got, your company, or what you did was, you helped with customer service, or so anytime you can quantify the result, you're going to have a much better, key skill for what you did at that company.
Also applies to your resume, I do believe. Quantify.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and a lot of the questions that would happen during the during these LinkedIn sessions that I was attending was, people would always say, well, I sold cars in my previous job, but now I'm looking to become a nurse. Well, again, you can still show, again, the value that you brought, in that job, even though that skill doesn't necessarily transfer from like directly, but being that you can speak in terms of, what you did, or ROI positive kind of thing, kind of buzzword or whatever, right? Like that is just, again, it says a lot about you as a person if you can do that. So
I want to, we only have about 7 minutes really left, although we can run over. But there are a couple things here I want to get to, such as creating posts. It's something I always have trouble with, is what do I post about to get people's interest? Because I know that the more active you are in LinkedIn, the more you'll show up.
Yeah. So when it comes to the post in particular, the easiest way to start is through the lens of your brand. As you start following and connecting with people on your main page here, what you're going to find is you're going to start seeing posts, right? So I see this one again from Corrine, and I can just simply like the post, or if she's asked a question, or I have a feeling about this, I can make a comment. And so the more that you add comments to existing posts, this is going to help you and your brand stand out, right? And so this is how I would start. So until you have something in particular that you want to post, just start by liking existing posts and start by commenting and engaging with the posts. Now, one of the really cool things so for example, again, I'm an Apple fan, an iOS fan. And so one of the things that I did was the new HomePod Mini was announced yesterday. And so I went and found a review of the new HomePod Mini. I copied and pasted the URL. And then when you go to start a new post, when you paste the URL, it creates a cute photo, like a photo thumbnail. And then like my post was, I'm buying 3, maybe 5, right? Again, just to start that. Now, that's not, that's advancing my Apple brand. Again, like it's just fun. But as a virtual trainer, for example, I may say something to the effect of, hey, I'm using this platform to do virtual facilitation, Microsoft Teams. Hey, does anybody in my network have any tips or tricks on how to use Teams to facilitate? that's a post. Make sure that you're asking a question in the post to pull that engagement from your network.
Okay, great. And by the way, I already set up my pre-order in my app for my 12 Pro.
Are you getting the big one?
No, too big.
Yeah, I want the mini. I like the baby phone.
Yeah, that's pretty common in my house. All right, so how do we really start to show up when a recruiter searches for us?
Awesome. So this is actually, it's kind of a matrix for how this thing works, which is the first thing you want to do is part of your job search process should be that you want to identify 10 to 20 kind of top companies that you would love to go to work for, or at least you think you do, right? And so what the pro tip is to try and connect with as many people as possible within that company. And here's the reason why. If a recruiter does a search for those keywords that your number one or number two words on your headline, so they do a search for those words and they see that you're open to work, because open to work pushes you higher on their search rankings, and you are connected with say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 people within that company, you are going to show up even higher in their search results. So the beauty is connect with lots of people. And this went back to the previous lady's question, which was, well, what if there's 10 hiring managers? Great, connect with all of them. Because then if they do a search, and a lot of times, even if you've applied for a job, they may just jump in and do a quick search just because they want to see you, find you, if you did not apply through LinkedIn in particular. So yeah, so the beauty is connect with as many people as possible and make sure your entire profile is keywords, as many keywords in everything as possible, so that you show up as high as possible when they do a search for you in particular.
Kirsten has a question. Back in your skill or your experience section, do you prefer bullet points or more like a story or description?
Again, if you go with the mindset of the whole 30 seconds to wow somebody, I would keep it shorter than longer. Just make it easier to scan. For example, like what you could do too is you can do like a job description, like this is what I did at my job, and then do bullet points. So you can kind of do a combination of both. So it's easy to read, but then those kind of key skills kind of quick pop out to help, a recruiter or a hiring manager go, oh, look at Kirsten, she's amazing. Yes, I want to talk to her.
That's exactly what I do, is a quick couple of sentences and then bullet points of things I accomplished. Now, I think this is a big question, because when you've been furloughed, then you don't necessarily have a lot of money sitting around. So is LinkedIn Premium worth it?
Well, the 30 days free trial is definitely worth it, but you got to do all this stuff first. So go through all these tips that we highlighted today. Do all of this first. Build the profile first, and then sign up for the free trial, because you get that 30 days. There's a couple really cool perks that come along with the premium. But one of my favorite things is you get access to LinkedIn Learning. And with LinkedIn Learning in particular, and this is essentially a $20 add-on going in the future after your trial. But the LinkedIn Learning is going to allow you to take classes that maybe, again, will help advance your brand. And then when you get through a class, you can actually add it to your profile. So again, especially if you're kind of in one vertical and you kind of, you want to switch over to this one, you can take a few of these classes and sometimes they take an hour, but they have even like full certifications for like project management, for example. And so that's another place where you can upskill and then add that to your profile, and now again help shine, or help stand out even further. You also get like salary insights, and you get a few extra of these in-mails, which again, if you're doing my technique, you don't have to even worry about you don't have to worry about the in-mail thing. But yeah, so that would definitely be, so again, for premium is wait till you have your profile dialed in, and then start with the free one and then see kind of how it goes. And the premium does help a little bit for the recruiter aspect, but again, if you're doing the networking, the pro networking, like I'm saying, you don't even need that.
They actually have in LinkedIn Premium, you have access to like sample interview questions and how you really should answer it. And I happen to love that feature because I'm really bad at answering interview questions. Kirsten
Um,
has another question. Oh, no,
oh yeah,
don't.
yeah.
We'll wait.
Oh no, go. She can ask her question quick, and then I definitely want to wrap up about skills.
Okay. So, should we include all of our experience, even if it's something completely different? Sort of like what you mentioned before with nursing and auto sales.
Um, you only need to go back 15 years. That's realistically all you have to go back. But if one of it, so it needs to come from your brand. So if your previous work, if you can tweak the job experience to align with what you're looking to do in your next job, then I would say yes. But if maybe you worked a job for 6 months and you took a job because you worked at Home Depot part-time while you were transitioning from one job to the other, do you have to put that on there? Probably not. So again, think about it from the standpoint of, does this advance your brand? Yes or no? And if it's no, then don't put it on there.
It's a good answer. And what were you about to say before I interrupted you?
Oh, no. Skills. So the one thing I do want to quick call out when it comes to your skill section is you need to max out your skills. And part of when a recruiter does a search for you is, why do I not see my skills? Sorry. It's here someplace. Skills. So you have the ability to add up to 50 skills to your profile. So you want to make sure that you do max the 50 skills out. And the skills that you want to list are any and everything that you could possibly be found for. So if you so any keywords that you want a recruiter to find you for, this is the key for the recruiter side of it. Again, the hiring manager, those skills are great, and you obviously you want the skills that are going to tie to your next role, to be kind of top. But yeah, and so the other thing is like, well, what if you have old skills, right? So maybe you were a nurse and now you're looking to get into being a recruiter. If there's like if a skill is like you're really good at poking people in the arm, that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't need that skill. Well, maybe you do, but you don't really need that skill to be a recruiter. And so you can actually remove that old skill so that you can open a spot up for a new skill to be found for. So don't feel bad. Like if you have 700 people have endorsed you that you're really good at poking people, that's okay. You know, you can get rid of it. Just because there's a lot of people who have endorsed you, that's okay.
And to add to that, what Mike Cohen again said at the Career Growth Summit, again, he's a recruiter. He said that the skills are really what pops up on the keyword search when the recruiters are searching, the skills and your headline.
Yep.
So that's just something to keep in mind. So, Sean, any wrap up words about LinkedIn?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I think I just kind of want to end it really with is just don't be afraid to post. Don't be afraid to try things, and this is not static. So if like for example, Michelle, you talked about that you changed your keywords, right? So if you're not getting, if you're not getting results, or you're not getting a lot of traction one way or the other, for example, be proactive with it. Jump back in, make small tweaks, right? My very first word that I had set up when I first got my ProSci certification, I put that first. Well, after going through a few of the different LinkedIn techniques, that was not right. I was like, no, I need to move that to the end, because what I want to be found for is, sales trainer or virtual trainer. So making small tweaks, making revisions. Look at if you need help with brand, if you're not even too sure kind of where to start, go look up like marketing people, look up branding people, because they do a great job at highlighting what their brand is and steal stuff. Like, hey, I really like this. I like this thing. You give credit at least 3 times, and then after the third time, you give credit to that person. It's yours. You get to own it. So yeah, so I just look at other people's profiles, look at what they're posting, look at the frequency that they're posting, and find somebody that you like. The craziest thing about LinkedIn for me over the last 4 months, I've now I've now made relationships with people. I have one guy that I meet with weekly out of Switzerland. We literally meet like it's become like mentoring sessions. Like we're meeting weekly. Again, I've been able to meet, like with On Track, the company's based out of California. My new boss is going to be out of Michigan. One of my coworkers is going to be out of Florida. Like this platform gives you you're going to start to make really cool relationships with people. And it's like all of a sudden just gonna happen. Like you're just gonna be like, whoa, where did all these people come from? And you're gonna start getting this engagement, and it's gonna be really cool, and then you're gonna look backwards on your kind of job hunting, months, and you're gonna be like, yeah, I had super highs and I had super lows, but I met so many cool people. Like my network grew from 400 to I'm almost at 800 over the last 4 months. And it's one person at a time, just slowly starting to build these relationships and engaging with them. So this is a really cool tool. And don't be afraid to connect. Just connect, and ask people, like ask them for help. Don't be afraid to ask, and ask them for what you need. So like a recommendation, for example, when it comes to recommendations, ask somebody if you can give them a recommendation. You see the green ring. Hey, how can I help you? Can I write you a recommendation? We used to work together. You were awesome. I would love to write a recommendation. How can I help advance your brand? And then, hey, can you do the same for me?
That's fantastic. So everyone, Sean, this worked. He's starting his new job at On Track on Monday. So big congratulations on that. So that should also give the rest of us hope. You can find a new job. It happens even during a pandemic. So I just want to thank everyone so much for attending today. We will be posting this in a day or two out on our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search for L&D Cares, and you'll find several videos from the conference 2 weeks ago, as well as all the videos thus far from our Conversations webinar series. So Sean, thank you again. Thank you all for attending. And that is it. I wish everybody a happy Wednesday.
Thank you, everybody. Good luck. And please feel free, if you reach out to me, connect with me, I'm more than happy to help.
Thank you, everybody.